Hi, everybody. It's another week and another episode of Resolve to Live Forward. I'm John Morrow. Thank you for joining me. Those of you listening on the podcast, I hope you're enjoying the audio version of the program. There are those of you that perhaps are watching it on the video that we make available to this podcast, as well as, of course, on YouTube. Thank you for joining me. Resolve to Live Forward. I'm John Morrow. We're in a series that we're going to be doing over the course of the next several months, and it's going to be a series that deals with the process of moving through grief. I want to clearly point out that although my particular situation has a great deal to do with the death of my wife and dealing with the grieving process as a widower, I have learned through the process of this journey of grief that grief takes on many forms, shapes, and fashions, and that we have all experienced grief to varying degrees, and every single one of them matter because what they do to your emotions can have very, very profound negative effects upon your effectiveness. And there's a world out there that actually needs those who understand the journey of grieving. And this is my contribution to that process. And I hope that this podcast is a help to you. The title of the podcast today is When the Motivation is Gone, What Do I Do Next? When motivation is gone, now what? That's a question that all of us who have gone through this process ask. It's the same thing as, well, for example, recently I had a friend who lost a job that they had worked at for over 8 years. They loved it. And just like that, snap of a finger in the world of business, which is so impersonal and indifferent to the lives of people, particularly people who are dedicated to doing their job and doing it well, suddenly it's yanked out from underneath you. And the only question you can ask is, what do I do now? What's next? Where do I go? How do I get started? Now what? Makes complete sense. Let me begin with the following question. What do you do when you know you need to move forward, but you simply don't feel like doing it? I'm just not in the mood. And it's not because you're lazy. It's because the motivation just isn't there. Now, let that sink in for a second because I think all of us can relate to that, even if we're not going through a grieving process. It just so happens that my area that I deal with in living forward is how to live forward carrying it. If you've ever waited to feel ready, you already know how long that might take. There's a phrase that I heard once years ago, and I still repeat it for people. If you wait until you're ready, you'll never start. I do that, for example, in Toastmasters when I talk to people who are saying, I'm just waiting until I'm ready to give my speech. And I look at it and I tell them, there is no right time to give the speech. If you're going to have that opportunity to give the speech, you're going to have to exercise the courage to give it, even if you don't feel ready, because the truth is, none of us feels ready. It's just how it is. You've got to commit. There were days after my loss when I knew I needed to do something, but I simply didn't want to. And here's the problem with not wanting to. I found myself just sitting in the house doing nothing or watching TV. And it's kind of like vegging, couch potato. I put off things that I should be doing, even the simple things around the house, the tasks that are a part of the process of learning to, I say learning to live on my own. Here's the truth. I knew how to take care of myself, but I always had a partner with me. Now it was up to me. If I didn't do it, it wasn't going to get done. And of course, that means that you're sitting there, you know what you ought to do, but you simply don't want to do it. Here's another fact, and maybe you felt this. It's not that I didn't care, I just didn't have the desire to start. I'm going to repeat it. It's not that I didn't care. I just didn't feel like getting started. It's one of those things. I'm tapped out. So I kept waiting, waiting to get motivated, as if motivation was supposed to show up. That's not the way it works. If you wait for motivation to show up, it's not going to show up. You have to make an intentional decision. So I'd like to offer you with some insights. If you're waiting for motivation to show up, here's the thing. Motivation is not reliable because motivation is random. You have to make an intentional choice. I've always said living forward is a choice. So here are some insights to share with you. Insight number one, of course, I said motivation is not a reliable thing. If you wait for it to show up, it comes and goes. If you're waiting for it to show up, you're going to be waiting a long time. Insight number two is that action will actually generate momentum, and momentum increases motivation. You take action first, then the momentum begins to build. You don't get motivated and then act. You take action, and then the motivation comes. Here's the next item in the insights that I'm sharing with you. You don't need motivation. You need to pick a point where you want to start and resolve to start. Just do it. Now, you don't need a full plan. You just need a beginning. And you don't even need a burst of energy. You just need to get up off of whatever it is you're sitting on and start somewhere. Anything. Wait a minute, John. What do you mean start somewhere? Take an action. Do something. Okay, we'll touch on that a little bit more, but here's the point. You don't need a plan. You don't need a burst of energy. You just need a place to begin. And so here's the applications that come across in this process. Number one, don't set such high expectations for yourself because you're not where you were before this loss. Stop asking yourself to do everything and instead ask yourself to simply do one thing. Now, what is that one thing? Well, think about it. You have a device. I've got one right here, my phone. Call somebody or text somebody or go to your laptop and send an email. One thing. Start with one thing. It's small, but it's not insignificant. Number two, don't wait until you're ready because if you wait until you're ready, as I said earlier, you won't be. You'll never start. Instead, start before you're ready. Start anyway. Start anyway. Just do it. Sounds like Nike, doesn't it? Step number three, you need structure. And the reason why I say you need structure is because if you build it on emotion, it's bumpy, it's inconsistent, it's not going to get the job done. You don't do things, well, I'll give you an example. In my power word, resolve, there are two E's. Now, the first E in resolve, the one that follows the letter R at the beginning, stands for engage. And what I mean by that is that you intentionally choose to engage each and every single day. And when you engage the day, what you're doing is you're engaging not just what you plan to do and scheduled to do, but you're also engaging opportunities in the form of people, places, and things. In the engagement process, that takes courage, but you see, you're putting yourself out there and being willing not to be withdrawn, but to come out, put yourself forward, and take whatever comes in your direction that is in the unexpected category, as well as those things that you expect and hope and plan to do. Well, that's what you call engaging life. But the last letter E is enthusiasm. And there are times, oh, there are times when you just don't have the enthusiasm. And yet I sincerely, sincerely believe that you have to will yourself, as I've said before in previous podcasts. You have to will yourself to be enthused. And that's an action. That is putting yourself out there and choosing to go after it. Because if you're waiting until you feel like it emotionally, you will be waiting a long time. So don't rely, as it says here, on how you feel. Rely on what you have decided to do. And this is a discipline that you have to put in your life because it steps in and becomes a driving force. It becomes an inertia. It becomes a momentum. The last step is give yourself credit when you accomplish something. Acknowledge the win. It doesn't matter. If you do something, recognize it and be thankful. The other day, my yard needed to be mowed. I'd been putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. But the thing about it is that there was no good reason to put it off. It was just an excuse that gave me a reason to go and do something else or do nothing at all. But finally, I decided to put on the clothes that I put on whenever I'm out in the yard working. I put on my hat to keep the sun off of my face and my ears and my neck. It's not a cowboy hat, but it's a wide brim. I went out to the shed, pulled out the lawnmower, put gasoline in it, cranked that puppy up, and started mowing grass. The moment I initiated the process of pushing that lawnmower over that lawn, it started happening. I was doing it. That resulted in me completing the mowing of my yard. And here's the beauty of it. I was so motivated and pleased in acknowledging the fact that I had accomplished it that I decided to do another task. And I finished that task as well. That would have never happened had I not taken that one beginning step. So as we talk about this process, that raises again the question, are you waiting for motivation to come into your life? Or are you making a definite decision to simply do one thing and let that one thing be the switch that leads to you doing a second thing and a third thing? Dr. Martin Luther King talked about taking the first step into a stairway where you could only see the first step. You could not see the next step. And the point he was making was that when you take the first step, the next one will appear. But it won't appear until you take that first step, the one that is there waiting for you to engage it. This is where you have to make up your mind. Even though I don't feel like it, I'm going to do it. And in doing it, I'll start feeling like it. Now, what is this thing before we go to the final thoughts on this? What is this thing with us about self-pity, self-loathing, uh, negative self-talk? I get it. It's it's not enough in this life that we have to put up with people who say things intentionally to be unkind. And then think about this. There are people who try to say nice things or try to say something that they think is encouraging, but it only serves to make you feel worse. Now, go to your self-talk. I just don't have what it takes. What? Did somebody tell you that, or is that what you're telling yourself? And is that a voice you want to listen to? Is that somebody you want to take advice from? Yes, you're broken. You are. You lost your job. You lost your marriage. You got a bad diagnosis and you don't know how much time you've got left. You had something that you cherished and you lost it. I had a house fire once. That was a grief moment for me, if there ever was one. A dear friend betrayed you. How could a dear friend betray you? It shatters you. You see, grief comes in so many ways that have nothing to do with physical death, but it's still like a death. And the first person that you sometimes get down on is yourself. Yeah, you're angry at the other individual, and there's a bitterness, and that can eat you alive and turn you into something you don't want to be. But you may ask yourself the question, what was so bad about me that made that person or made that thing happen to me? What did I do wrong? Why do I deserve this? Well, the truth is, we don't get to always make the choices when it comes to the disappointments and heartbreaks that come into our life. We have to see it through. And as I've learned in the journey as a widower in the grieving process, I've had to learn that I can't get past it. I have to carry it with me. So if I carry it with me, how much credence am I going to give it in terms of the weight that it puts on me, in terms of my ability to live in a forward direction? That's one of the reasons why the resolve power word and the behaviors embodied in those 7 letters in the word resolve are so important to me, because it gave me structure. Resolve as a power word was my definite, firm plan of action. I knew that I had a plan of action. And what was the plan of action? The plan of action were the 7 letters, which represent resilience, engagement, service, organization, learning, living, loving to learn, visionary mindset, and then enthusiasm, and then willing myself to be enthusiastic. But what's interesting is when you do all these things, enthusiasm rises. And this is the same thing with you. You think, where's my motivation gone? Well, your motivation is gone because you didn't get up and go. You got down and quit. You got down and quit. And what you have to do is you have to make the choice. You don't need motivation to begin, my friends. You just need to take the initiative on your own and do something, starting with one thing. And it's amazing. It's kind of like that snowball, small little thing that rolls down the hill, but as it rolls down the hill, it picks up more and it picks up more speed. and it grows. Here's the question. I'm glad I wrote it down, by the way. I want you to sit and think about this for a while, please. What's one thing you've been putting off that you could start today, even if you're not motivated to do so? Let me repeat that. What's one thing you've been putting off that you could start today, even if you don't feel motivated? It's not about me. Yes, I'm responsible for me. I have to take accountability for me. I have to believe I'm here for a reason. But it's true. On this journey, after suffering, I'm talking to you now, after suffering a terrible loss and a heartbreak, something devastating in your life, you're waiting for the motivation to come back. And the truth is, it often doesn't, or at least not in the way you thought it might. But who said that you couldn't be the one to press the button that would start the engine that would begin to make you move forward in a meaningful direction? Are you hearing me? Yes, you have the right to be tired, to be unmotivated. It's okay. What's not okay is choosing to check out, to quit, to, as I've said in other episodes, curl up into a fetal position, crawl in a corner, and hope to die. And I apologize for being so brutally abrupt and honest. But this is not about feeling sorry for yourself. Yes, you deserve the sympathy of people. You have been damaged. But if you're waiting for something to repair you so that you can return to what you were before the event, it's not going to happen. In previous episodes, I've told you that these kinds of scars, because they are emotional, they can heal, but they're only going to heal to a certain extent. They're going to leave a mark, and there's a strong possibility there's going to be a lingering, aching pain. And that aching pain sometimes is in the form of a sorrow, a sadness, moments of anguish, moments when you just don't want to do anything except pull out a Kleenex and start crying. And that's okay, but you can't let that become the dominant force in your life. You have to take a step. You have to, one step at a time, in intentionality, do something. And if you have a structure, I will leave you with this thought before we conclude. You're alive. And if you're alive, you're here because it was meant for you to be here. And that's a gift. You just don't see it yet. You need to see the gift, and you need to open it up and make it a reality. But to open it up, to live forward, as I say, you need a plan. I have the resolve, power word, and the behaviors that my late wife and I adopted that give us that plan. It doesn't have to be for you that kind of a plan, but find a way to establish in your day-to-day life, especially on those days when you simply don't feel like it, to make the decision to do one positive thing that will move you in a forward direction. And I almost certainly, without hesitation, guarantee you, if you do that, the next one will show up and it will be easier than the first one. And with each and every single step, you will build momentum. This is my appeal to you. When we get together again at this time next week, we will talk more on this series as we discover the journey of living forward, not because of, but in spite of your loss. Because if you're still here, you're not done. You're still writing your story. You're still writing the next chapter. And there are a lot more chapters, I think, that are left for you to write. So I hope that you're encouraged by this. It's been an honor to be with you today. Thank you for joining me on this podcast. Thanks to those of you that are watching it on YouTube. I'm John Morrow. My email address is johnmorrowcoaching@gmail.com. Resolve to live forward. I have a YouTube channel, and my Facebook is also Resolve to Live Forward, or you can reach out to John Morrow on Facebook. And I just want to say as I close, I'm not doing this to call attention to myself. I'm doing this because I've been given a gift. Yes, I lost something precious. But every day that I open my eyes and realize I have another day to live, it's a gift that I want to receive, but then I in turn want to give to you. And if I can make a difference in your life and help you just take that one step, let me know about it and contact me. I look forward to hearing from you. But thank you for listening. And where it's available, thank you for watching. This is John Morrow. Until next time, you've been listening to Resolve to Live Forward. I'll look forward to seeing you again at this time, by the grace of God, next week. So long for now. Bye-bye.